Everyone keeps talking about class sizes. I want to know how the candidates think about this issue. What is the right class size? How do you know? And how do you make decisions about this?
That's an excellent question. You really don't know what the perfect class size is in any given situation, and you can never, because you have to live in a real world where you have to fit bodies into certain spaces. You're never going to have. I mean, it's always something where you set guidelines for what the class sizes should be. I think people can agree on certain things. Like most of us agree, with beyond any kind of ratios, that the class sizes in K through 3 should be smaller than the class sizes in the upper classes, but that's not, you know, there's no necessarily a magic number. I mean, there's certain studies where they'll say like 16 is the right number to really have effects on standardized tests, but it gets in such a mess because it's a lot of the reason why people like class sizes is simply because, first of all, if you're a teacher, it means it's easier, it's a better way to accomplish your goals as a teacher when you have fewer students to manage. And for parents, it's a visible indicator of exactly, you know, it's one visible indicator of the quality of the school. And
Mr. Freeman.
The data is actually relatively clear on class size, and it's that there are magic numbers, and they're much too low for any reasonable district to afford. They're, you know, as Charlie said, in the 16 range, and depending on the grade level. And so that means that we really shouldn't just be focused on that number. We should be focused on the ratio of adults to students. In other words, what's happening in that classroom? Are there aides? Are there volunteers? Are there special ed inclusion teachers in classrooms that make it possible to do small group activities and to work together in cooperative ways? We should also focus on the whole learning day. So the students may be in a 10-to-1 setting part of the day, they might be in a 30-to-1 setting another part of the day. And that is a better way to think about it than to look at specific target numbers, and it gives us more flexibility given the financial challenges.
Ms. Cronenberg.
So as has been said, the way we know which class sizes really do work is that there is data out there. The other thing we know is that we can't afford what will really work. So what we've done is compromise off of that. And that's sort of where we are in California and throughout the country in terms of public education. We certainly can look at ways around it, and that's why bringing in more volunteers, running really effective volunteer programs, and that's something we've focused on here, is one of the answers. Because when you have 2 or 3 other adults in there, although you haven't changed the teacher ratio, you've changed the student to adult ratio. The other thing that has to happen is that we've got to be able to fund education so that we can actually afford to do what does work. It would be nice to try what actually does work instead of to have to compromise off of and move it into a direction that we know doesn't. And I'll actually stop there.
Ms. Merriweather.
This is really challenging for teachers, because teachers know what a good class size should be. K to 3 should be 20, 4 to 6 should be 30, and the upper grades 34. Anytime you get over that number, you can't give your students the individualized attention that they need. In a class day, there's a lot of things that go on, and some children may go a whole day without even getting the attention that they need from the teacher. So it's important that we have the class size that we need, and we need to work towards that. Yes, it might look impossible, but I think that we should move towards that direction and start looking at some workable solutions that we can use in this district to help our students achieve.
Ms. Miles.
Kindergarten is very difficult, but often it is not about the student ratio of 20 to 1. Again, the number that works is something that's impossible for most districts, but there are creative ways to do that, such as, for example, for one part of the day I have my students, 10 of them are going to gardening and the other 10 are with me to do a small reading group and a small intervention project. So overall, it's about training also the PD that is provided to the teacher to be able to use different strategies, to be able to do small groups, and as well to have volunteers in the room to work with other students. So it's those three key pieces. It's professional development, it's volunteerism, and it's alternative programming within the school to make it a smaller classroom, even if it's not able to be funded.
Mr. Ramsey?
I just think this is a very difficult question to answer. I mean, it calls for a lot of speculation. No one really has a magic crystal ball to really give an answer. I mean, you can look at Downer Elementary, and it has some of the lowest test scores, and they've had class size reduction. They've struggled. I think a lot of the indicators are parent involvement. I believe whatever we can do to try to make sure that we have more parents engaged, involved, and I know it makes a difference here. It's made a difference in my children's life. My wife's has been a full-time volunteer, and with our kids, and they're happy and they're thriving, not just academically, they're well-rounded. So all I can say is that we need to try to make sure that the educational experience is an enriching one, a welcoming one, and one that tries to support instruction and teachers and parents and families as they go through their educational experience. Because I went to UCLA, and I had classes of 400 kids. I mean, it didn't just start in elementary, middle, high, college. I mean, it's just a matter of resources.
Okay.